Welcome to Accelerated Math 108, Module 9.1, solving linear equations in the form of x plus b equal to c and ax equal to c. All right, so in this lecture video, I'm going to show you how to solve our linear equations. Now, before I do that, I would like to explain the three types of solutions. So when we're solving linear equations, sometimes we can have one solution only. Okay, what that means is only one number for x can satisfy the equation. In other words, that number for x, that solution for x, can make both sides equal. So for example, 2x equal to 4, most of y'all kind of know x is equal to 2. So only this answer, x equal to 2, can actually make both sides equal because 2 times 2 is equal to 4. And you cannot find any other numbers. And you cannot find any other numbers that can actually make both sides equal in this equation. All right. Another type of solution is all real numbers. That means any number I choose for x can make the left side equal to the right side. Obviously, if you look at this equation, the left side is equal to the right side already. So it does not matter what number I choose for x, both sides will always be equal. And sometimes we might run into the situation where there's no solutions. All right, no solution means you cannot find a number for x and substitute into the equation to make the left side equal to the right side. Because what that indicates is the left side just not equal to the right side in terms of equations. All right. So because if you look at it, the left side is just not equal to the right side. So from time to time, we will run into all real numbers. Okay, that means you have infinite number of solutions that can make the left side equal to the right side for the equation, or you just don't have any equations. All right, let's take a look at a couple definitions real quick. These will be the wordings that I use when I solve an equation. What is so-called a variable term? A variable term is the term that contains the variable that is being solved. So, for example, if I want to solve for x, excuse me, let me change a variable. If I want to solve for y, that means my variable is y. So when I have an equation such as 2x minus 3y equal to 6, if I have an equation 2x minus 3y equal to 6, I have 1, 2, 3 terms. Subtraction sign outside the parenthesis, separate between terms. So that means 2x is a term. All right. Negative 3y is a term. And 6 is a term. So when you watch the lecture videos for Module 8, we're explaining what a term is. So we're using addition and subtraction signs outside the parenthesis to separate between terms. So out of the 3 terms, the term that contains the variable y, because I'm solving for y, will be my variable term. Therefore, negative 3y is my variable term. All right. So inside that negative 3y, y is the variable. So that make negative 3 the coefficient. So a lot of times people say coefficient is simply the number in front of the variable. That is not a very good definition for it, because that means coefficient is always referring to as numbers, but that's not always the case. A better definition for coefficient is a factor. A coefficient is a factor or factors inside the variable term. That is not the variable. So if for another example, I want to again solve, oh, sorry. If I want to solve for y again, and this time my equation is 2x minus 3yz equal to 6. All right, if I want to solve for y, the first thing I got to do is identify my variable terms. So subtraction sign here, separate between two terms. So on the left side of my equal sign, I have 2x, negative 3yz, and on the right hand side of the equal sign, I have 6. So the term I highlighted here got to be my variable term because that's the only term that contains the variable y. So if y is the variable, what is negative 3z? Those two factors will now become my coefficient. Okay, that's what coefficients is or are. All right, so coefficients are factors. Coefficients or coefficient is a factor or factors inside the variable term that is not the variable. Okay, so these will be the two wording I constantly use when I'm solving any type of equations. So here I wrote down some steps, basic steps on how to solve linear equation in one variable. The first thing we got to do is identify terms. Got to see how many terms you have. Then if some of the terms contains parentheses, we will have to do distribution. And then we're going to combine like terms on each side of the equal sign if needed. So once I combine like step number 3 here, combine like term is very important because that make my equation looks smaller, not as long. So after I combine like term on each side, then step number 4, I do step number 4 differently than what a lot of students sing before. We will move all the variable terms to one side of the equal sign and move other terms to the other side. It's just when we move terms across the equal sign, we got to change the signs to the opposite one. All right, so after I combine like terms on each, and then once I move all my terms to the right or to the left, wherever I need to move them to, then we're going to combine like terms on each side again if needed. The last step, solving linear equation, is always going to be divide the coefficient on both sides. All right, so let me demonstrate using another page to demonstrate this real quick. Maybe this is a little bit easier. So let's say here I have an equal sign, okay? What equal sign does is separate the left side and the right side. Okay. So let's say here I have a heart on the left side. That's one term. I have a star on the other side. Let's see what else I got in here. Let's do some shapes. Ooh. Let's say I have a square here and a triangle. All right. So now my equation, this entire equation consists of 4 objects, 4 terms. If I want my heart to be by itself on one side of equal sign, because solving equation is to isolate the variables, isolate the variable on one side of equal sign. So if I want my heart to be by itself on one side, what I can do is pick up my square and move it over to the other side. Now my heart is by itself. Or what I can do is move my heart to the other side, then move everybody that was on the right side back over to the left side. Again, heart is by itself. Okay. Now let's think about this scenario. Let's take away my triangle. Let me put another heart. So again, four terms. You know what? I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna copy a heart right here and put it right here. All right, still got four terms here. Now I want my heart to be by itself. I want to get heart by itself. So what can I do? Well, first of all, I got to see where my hearts are. I got hearts on the left, I got hearts on the right. So which side should I move my hearts to? And the answer to that is either side. You can have hearts on the right or hearts on the left. It doesn't matter because I'm using equal sign in the middle, so it doesn't matter where my variable term end up to be. So if I choose to have my hearts on the left side, then the one on the right got to be moved over. And so that means the square got to go to the right side. And you might ask, why do I want to have hearts together on the same side? Because if I get all my variable terms or all my hearts here on the same side, then I can combine like terms. All right. So same thing. If I choose to have my hearts on the right side of the equal sign, then this one on the left got to go to the right and the star got to move over. So now all my hearts on the right side, I can combine like terms. Okay, so that's the basic idea. What I'm going to show you when I solve equation. All right, so for example, solving a linear equation, and you can use a calculator for all these type of problem too. I just most of the time I'm doing it by hand. It's just a little bit quicker for me. But I got calculator. I can pull out the calculator and show you how to do this on the calculator as well. How to enter operations in the calculator. So this equation says y minus 14 is equal to 13. So step number one, identify terms. So on the left side of the equal sign, okay, always see where the equal sign is. On the left side, there's a subtraction sign outside the parenthesis. So that's separate between two terms. Y is my first term. Negative 14 is the second term. And on the right side, I have a 13. Step number two, do distribution if needed. There's no need for distribution because none of the three terms has parentheses. Step number three, combine like terms on each side if needed. Cannot combine like terms on the left side because these two terms are not like terms. Because one is variable term, one is just a constant term. So in order to combine like terms, your terms got to have the same variable and the same exponents. So these two are not like terms, cannot combine them. So let's do step number four. We're going to move all the variable terms to one side and other terms to the other side. It just we got to move term. It just when we're moving terms across equal sign, we got to change the sign to the opposite one. So before you can move anybody, find your variable term. So my variable term is y. And my y here is positive. This is the only variable term I got. So if it's positive, let it stay there. So that means I need to move my negative 13 to the other side. So equal sign in the middle. On the left side, y still y. On the right side, 13 still 13. So I pick up my negative 14, move over to the right side. So 14 come over to the right. It just when I move my negative 14 to the right, it changes sign. So now my 14 come over is going to be positive. All right, step number 5, combine like term again if needed. So that would be y equals 13 plus 14 will be 27. For this problem, there is a step number 6. We just don't write it out because the last step is divided by the coefficient on both sides. So right now, my coefficient in front of my variable term is 1. So if I divide both sides by 1, my answer is still going to be y equal to 27. So this is it. This will be the answer. All right. I choose this particular example here just to show you your variable term can be on either side. You don't always got to have variable term on the left. It can be on the left side or the right side. So if you identify how many terms we have, I think we got 3 terms again. All right, 14 is a term. On the right side, subtraction sign separate between 2 terms outside the parenthesis. So W is a term. And negative 9 is also a term. There's no like term to combine on each side. W and negative 9 are not like terms. So step number 4, let's move them. So since I only got W, this is my only variable term, and it's positive on the right side, then I'm going to let it stay there on the right side. So that means I can pick up my negative 9 and move it to the left side. So equal sign in the middle, W still W on the right. So now I can say W equals 14 still 14 on the left side. Negative 9 move over to the left side becomes positive. Because when I move a term across the equal sign, I got to change the sign. If I do not move across the equal sign, I don't have to change the sign. So my answer, W equal 14 plus 9, I believe is 23. All right. Let's look at other ones. So instead of saying plus something on both sides or minus something on both sides, I normally just move terms first, then combine them. All right, so this problem has a lot more terms than usual. Let's take a look. Equal sign right here in the middle. So on the left side, there's a plus sign outside the parentheses, so that's 2 terms. On the right side, there's 2 subtraction and addition signs outside the parentheses, so that separates 3 terms. All right, so I got a lot of terms here. None of my 5 terms has parentheses, so I don't have to do any type of distribution. All right, step number 3, combine like terms on each side. So these 2 terms on the left side are like terms, so I can combine them. So let's see, negative 7.2 plus 4.9, negative 2.3. Negative 2.3. On the right side, the 3.3z and negative 2.3z are like terms, so I can combine them. So 3.3 minus 2.3. Remember, you cannot enter in variables in the graph in your calculator to do this. You can only key in coefficients. And note, regular graphing calculator cannot solve equation for you. So what we enter in the calculator is simply the operations. So 3.3z minus 2.3z is 1z. You can write 1z or you can write just z. That's the same thing. All right. But I still have positive 0.4 on the right side. Okay. Because these two terms are like terms. Okay. Positive 0.4 is not like term with other ones on this side. So step number 4. Before you move any terms, find your variable term. My variable term is z. It's positive, so I let it stay there on the right hand side. That means everybody else got to go to the opposite side of the equal sign. So I will pick up my positive 0.4 and move it to the left side. So now the right side, I still got my z equals. The left side still got negative 2.3. Positive 0.4 come over becomes negative. All right. So if you do this moving terms for a while, eventually you kind of just can do it just by looking at them. You don't have to write every step down. So now my z is equal to negative 2.3 minus 0.4. So negative 2.3 minus 0.4. So that's negative 2.7, just to make sure. So my answer, z equals negative 2.7. All right. Remember, variable term can be on the right side or the left side. Always try to read the answer from the variable term. That's a good habit to have. All right, couple equation involving with fractions. There are different ways we can do this. Whatever, but convert them to decimal is definitely not one of the ways. When you have equation involving with fractions, we can either work with the fraction or clear the fractions. Work with the fractions means we can do the operations by hand involving fractions, or we can simply enter these fractions in the calculator. So I'm going to show you how to do this by hand, which, we're going to work with the calculator and we're going to do it by hand first. So kind of just refresh your memory a little bit. All right, so what I got myself here, we got a over 3. This is working with the fraction. Z minus 3 over 2. All right, I got 3 terms because on the right side there's a subtraction sign separating between 2 terms. All right, out of the 3 terms, none of them has parentheses, so there's no distribution. Step number 3, combine like term on each side. Z is not like term with negative 3 over 2, so these 2 terms cannot be combined. So step number 4, before I move anybody, find your variable term, which is my z. Positive, let it stay here on this side. So who do I move? Negative 3 over 2 to the other side. There you go. So now z still on the right side equal to a over 3, still a over 3. 3 over 2, negative 3 over 2, move over to the left side, now becomes positive. All right, so basically at this point, I can combine these 2 terms, by hand, or I can put them in the calculator. If I want to combine these 2 terms by hand, let me do this on the side real quick. That would be a over 3 plus 3 over 2. Addition of fractions. We think about find the LCD first. The LCD between 3 and 2 is 6. All right, so now let's find our equivalent fractions. 3 going to 6, 2 times. So my numerator and denominator will now increase by 2. So my new numerator is 16. So 16 over 6 is equivalent to a over 3. Do the same thing for 3 over 2. All right, 2 go into 6 3 times. Numerator will also increase by 3 times. So my new numerator is 9. So now 16 plus 9 on the numerator will give me 25 over 6. And 25 over 6 cannot be reduced. So my answer, Z equals 25 over 6. All right, so I want to show you how to do this by hand, kind of refresh your memory on how to add or subtract fractions. Very important that you remember how to do this operation of fraction by hand. In this class, with other modules, we will do quite a bit of these involving with algebraic expressions. So calculator, real quick. For calculators, then what we're really working on, what we really key in here is the operation of fractions. So make a good habit. Every time we enter a fraction in a calculator, always start out with a parenthesis. So open parenthesis, 8 divided by 3, close parenthesis, plus open parenthesis, 3 over 2, and close it. So in a way, you're telling the calculator to do 8 divided by 3 first, 3 divided by 2 next, then add them up. All right, so decimal answer is 4.16 repeating. All right, take a step further. For graphing calculator, convert decimal to fraction. We will press math, choose number 1 to fraction, and enter 25 over 6. So if you use a scientific calculator, please ask your instructor on how to convert decimal to fraction. Okay, and they will gladly to show you how to do this in the calculator. All right, so this is working with a fraction. Work with a fraction by hand. Now, I'm going to write the problem down here. There is another technique. Since we don't like fractions, what we can do is to clear the fraction. We can clear the fraction by multiply every term, not every fraction, but every term by the least common denominator. So for my problem, 8 over 3 equal to Z minus 3 over 2, I believe. Clear the fraction. All right, so I got 3 terms. Clear the fraction by multiply every term by the LCD. So Z means Z over 1. So my denominator is 312. So the LCD between 3, 1, and 2 got to still be 6. So now I multiply my first term by 6, my second term by 6, and my third term multiplied by 6. When I multiply by 6, means 6 over 1. Because what I want to do here is clear out my denominator. If I can clear out my denominator, then I will not have any more fractions. That's the whole idea. So the 6 over 1, I wrote that so you can see the sixes on the top can cancel out with the 3 in the bottom here. So top 6, bottom 3 reduce into 1 and 2. So now 2 times 8, my first term, becomes 16. So what I just did is increase my entire first term by 6 times. So that's really 16. Equal sign still here. 6 times z is 6z, because z is actually on the numerator too, being over 1. All right. My LCD 6 times my third term. So top 6, bottom 2 reduce into 1 and 3. So 3 times 3 would just be 9. Sorry, that's a negative 9. So what happened to my denominator, what happened to the denominator is all become 1. It all got canceled out. And that's the idea. Clear the fraction means get canceled out all the denominators, so you only have integers to work with. So now the right side still got 2 terms. My variable term is 6z. And there's no like terms to combine on the right side. So I'm going to move my negative 9 to the left side. Pick it up. Move over here to the left side. So now I should have 6z on the right. 16 still 16 on the left side. Negative 9 come over, becomes a positive. So now I have 6z is equal to 16 plus 9 is 25. So last step, when we're solving equation, remember, it's always divide both sides by the coefficient. And where is coefficient at? Inside the variable term, other than the variable. So my coefficient here is 6, so I will divide both sides by 6. So my answer, z equals 25 over 6. Okay, so this particular problem, we can do it in 2 different techniques. Okay, clear the fraction, or I can work with a fraction. Now, when I work with a fraction, I can do the operation of fraction by hand, or I can do it in the calculator. It's whatever you like to do here. So you might be thinking this problem seems a lot easier just to work with a fraction. Yes, it is. Clearing a fraction technique is really designed for more complicated equation involving with fraction. But I'm just taking this opportunity to go ahead and show it to you. And in other sections of this module, I will also show y'all more complicated equation where this technique can come in handy. Plus, when we're reaching module 14, then this is all we're gonna do. Okay. All right. So now let's take a look. Let's try another one. Same thing. I got 3 terms. I got 3 terms here. Okay. Equation involving with fractions. So as you can see, none of the 3 terms here has parentheses. All right. It's 3 terms because the plus sign separate between 2 terms. So all of the 3 terms, none of them has parentheses, so I don't have to do any distribution. There's no like term to combine on the left side. So now, now let's move terms. Since my variable term x is positive, let it stay. So I need to toss positive 3 over 4 over to the other side. So equal sign in the middle. On the left side, x is still x. On the right side, 2 over 3 is still 2 over 3. When I pick up the 3 over 4, move over to the right side, it will become negative. Okay. now x equal to 2/3 minus 3 over 4. So I can just do this part in the calculator. And if you do it in the calculator, make sure, every fraction you enter, try to put them in the parentheses just to be on the safe side. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and press math. No, choose number one, convert to fraction. So that's -1/12. That will be my answer. If you want to, if you want me to show you how to do this by hand, so you can remember how to do operation of fraction by hand, let's take a look. Subtraction of fraction always means the first thing I think about is find the LCD. The least common denominator between 3 and 4 got to be 12. So because 3 can go into 12 4 times, so that means my numerator will also increase 4 times. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 will go into 12 3 times. So my numerator will also increase by 3, so that's a 9. So now when we add and subtract fractions, we just add and subtract its numerator after I find the LCD, after I find the equivalent fraction. So 8 minus 9 got to be -1. All right. So in this lecture video, I just want to show y'all the different types of solutions, the steps on how to solve linear equations. One of the key things to remember is instead of add something on both sides or subtract something on both sides, I basically do moving terms to the right or to the left. Depends on where I want the variable term to be. And we also begin to talk about the different techniques on how to solve equations, linear equations involving with fractions. All right, that will conclude this lecture video. Thank you for watching.